I'm Mary. So people used to say that soup makes you grow taller, but here am I. And I had 20 types of different soup when I was a kid, so it didn't work at all. Don't believe advices like that one. But maybe I'm not really human, because maybe I've led much more a chrysalis life than a human one. I had many lives. Like chrysalis, I grew up slowly more on the inside than on the outside. And like them, every time pushing back my own limits, I put the new skin on instead of the old one. So maybe I must explain me, because I don't know if anyone could believe here without zooming in on my neck that I really am an insect in disguise. So for my first life, thank you. I was a larva in the intensive care unit between my birth and 2 years and a half. So describe myself as a larva, I can assure you, is not very common. But maybe because babies do speak normally. But for me, it was an exception. I was born in Pau, in south of France, near from Spain. So it gave me a strong character, I can assure you. So problems begin for me at the very beginning, as you can see. My mother was sick and had too much water in her womb. So I had to come out 1 month before the expected birth date. As a consequence, a part of my trachea was missing, was too weak. A part of my esophagus was missing, and some vertebrae were not well done. So they obstruct my right lung, sorry. So I looked dead. But fortunately, it was 20th century, and they did not bury me, saying a witch. And they sent me to a bigger hospital in Toulouse, 2 hours far from my parents' home. So I spent there 2 years and a half because it was really difficult, thank you, for the doctors to find out how to repair my trachea and my esophagus, because they are near. So it was difficult not to obstruct one with the other. And it was also difficult for me to find out how to breathe, how to eat, and actually how to do anything with my neck. As you can see, it's a bit complicated there. So for my first life as a baby, I had to be all alone, all the time, actually, separated from my parents. And I only had 2 targets: to survive, of course, without breathing, I prefer, and without eating, because I didn't use my neck. And also seeing my family without eating also, because it was better to bother them and claim for them. So every single second, I had to deal with fear, solitude, pain, and also weakness. But the thing is, I've learned a lot. I've learned to look, be warned. I've learned to look very sharply at people to figure out who could be a danger to me, and also a good deal. So, but I've learned also how to let my body find its own way, and also that nurses and doctors can help, love, and speak to me like the nurses did. I speak of the nurses because they write for me and not the doctors on a sheet of paper. So I read it. And I could experience that on my own. And at the end, the weird thing is I felt at home in hospital. Yes, I know, it's weird. After the intensive care unit, I had to wait 2 years more because I needed that a real doctor in Paris could find the way to repair all the things and remove the tracheotomy tube out of my neck, because I tried to, without saying a word, I tried to, but it didn't work. But I tried fourth time. And it's what he did marked slowly the beginning of the second life. So for the second life, okay. In the middle, I'm 1 year old, and maybe for on the left and on the right, I'm maybe 2, I don't know, something like that. And you can see a tracheotomy tube on each of them. And that I don't like eating also. So for the second life, I wore the surgical corset until 16, and you can see it on the left. A piece of plastic is that I don't like. I don't have more photos. And on the right, you can see it makes something weird on my back. It's that also. So for the second life, I had to be a normal kid. And so to do like them, to behave me like them, and to accept and lead them to accept my differences. And that was the point. Because I wore the surgical corset, as you can see, and day and night, and I was tiny, I am. And someone had to help to carry my stuff, and my book had to stay at school, so I was a perfect target for bullying. But the point was to adapt as quickly as possible to avoid bullying. And this was pretty difficult because I was at school only at 8. Before that, I was too sick. Therefore, my perfect strategy could be summarized in 2 rules in the past. So first rule, do not make just one friend who can leave or betray. And second rule, you have to let the whole world think that you are anything but common. So it can't be held against you. So as you can see here, I was not master of fashion, but I've learned to not to care about others' opinion. But the main problem in this situation, in my perfect plan, was with boys. Because I was 16 and my little sister, born 2 years before, was tall, 25 centimeters more than me, and beautiful, and had been dating boyfriends since 2 years, when I still had nightmares about removing my corset screw by screw so that I could make love. So it was not a perfect plan. But miracles sometimes happens, thanks to the doctor. And they suddenly decided that I had stopped to grow. Did I ever start? I don't know. But so suddenly I could remove the damn thing, and it was slowly the beginning of a new life. Because I could plunge in the reality, I could be a real butterfly and feel my body moving. And still today, I'm pretty surprised that it can move. So without my old skin, like an insect, I started a living self-conscious life. And I began my studies. The day I began my studies crossing the ugly place at dawn, I realized that I found a place where I could fit in for the first time in my life. Because there, physical acuity did not count, but psychological did. So it was an area when I had chances, like the other, and maybe even more, because I already knew how to tackle difficulties. So I tried. It was pretty difficult sometimes because I was exhausted and could not think. But actually, it was difficult for all of us because for preparatory classes, a great part of the students give up. And the thing was, I have never been so happy because for the first time in my life was not in danger. And I could choose the difficulty myself. I could choose the type and the level of the difficulty, and it made me, at the end, stronger than weaker. and it wasn't the case before. So maybe because I was used to push back my own limits, I did my best, and I always took 2 paths at the same time. So I did these preparatory classes where you have to be a specialist in history, geography, foreign languages, Latin, philosophy, and so on, at the same time. And after that, I began to, I moved to Berlin without speaking a word German with Erasmus scheme. And when I came back, I chose that I can maybe begin 2 master degrees, so one in art history and one in French literature. A bit too much, right? But I think it was also a good thing for me to discover myself as a self-conscious, to make my own choice, also to be good at something, and to feel secure. But actually, it was an intermission, because in 2012, doctors, some of them, discovered for me a thyroid cancer. So it was the beginning of the third life. In 2012, okay, here, there, I'm laying in the snow, and I'm really thin because I'm trying an alternative treatment. I will explain. So in 2012, they diagnosed me thyroid cancer. And this cancer was probably a consequence of the many X-rays I was exposed to when I was a kid. So I felt in this period as I have been badly betrayed by my parents, because they gave me organic food, bio food, and it didn't work enough against death. And they also learned me that in life you have a line between beginning and the end, and it only could be better. But with cancer, I learned it didn't work. So I felt badly betrayed, and I felt also badly betrayed by life, because it was as if I was back to square one, ignoring the long way I had to come through year after year. So I was unbelievably angry and also unbelievably afraid, because such a diagnosis puts above your head a sword of Damocles all the time. And the problem was also that this time I could feel this danger. And because of that fear, I could not accept at the beginning the surgery. So I tried all the alternative treatment I could find. Some of them were funny. Some of them were weird. Some of them were really dangerous. And the most terrible, I think, was 43 days fast without medical advices. And I lost 10 kilos, and it helped my body to detox, but it didn't kill the cancer cells, as you can imagine. So at the end, it was so horrid that I accepted, made my own choice, because I felt like a puppet in other hands to follow such an advice. And I made my own choice and accept the surgery. And I had on 14th February 2013, sorry for numbers, I'm not good at that. It was Valentine's Day, just a bit too boring to be boring. It was funny for me. So for Valentine's Day, I had 8-hour surgery. But my lungs didn't accept it. They swelled and obstruct my trachea again, so I had second tracheotomy tube. So back to square one. Once again, I had to survive. It was not easy to breathe, and this time I was aware of the danger. I had to make my own choices, and because of that, I resisted the doctor, who told me I would keep this tracheotomy tube all my life. I wrote, because you can't speak with a tracheotomy, and I wrote her, no way, do what you want. Take all the time you want, but I will manage without. I can live with cancer, sure, for a short time, but I can live. But with that, no. No, going outside like that, it will ruin my life. And it was true, and it worked. So each day after that, she came to check and to help. So once, she even came with cords she had cut to obstruct it and let me speak. It was pretty funny. So sometimes medicine can be an art also. It was pretty a hard time there because at the beginning, for example, the tracheotomy tube was too short, and it lasted 4 days that someone believed me and checked that it was too short. And it was enough too short that I can't breathe. And it was enough too hard that I decided to die. But all my family and friends came at once, and it was impossible for me to tell to all of them what I decided to tell to each. So I didn't die. The thing is also that in the intensive care unit where I came back, there are special rules because you're stuck in a box. The bedroom is a box. You can open windows. You can do nothing. You cannot bring something on your own. But your body is also in a box because you have to follow its rules. You are at its commands. And you have to wait the next minute, and also the next minute. You don't have to think, but just to feel what works for you and how to help. So thanks to my first steps, and thanks also to the help I had and the love I had, I could find the way really fast, and I recovered in 1.5 months. I was at home, and despite the metastasis left in my lungs, it was the beginning of the new life, the fourth life. So look at that, 6 months after. So for the fourth life, the main goal was to be a responsive woman. It was between 2013, yes, and today. So back to life again. I've learned a lot. I know my body, its limits, and its strength. I know that I can negotiate with them, but also that I should respect them, what I didn't do before. I know also that such a big disease has physical reasons, of course, but also psychological one. So I decided to do my best to remove the psychological one so that this cancer could not grow again, and found a therapy. It helped me very much to live my kids' beliefs, and thanks to that, I could do also the right choices to have a job. Instead of the PhD I began, I started and finally obtained the agrégation in French literature. It's maybe the most competitive exam for teaching. Thank you. So this exam turned me into a teacher. Kids need attention at every moment. So they learn me how to care of them, to give them love, but also limits. And I also have to be responsive, not to be late, not to be sleepy, and I had to work. And I also had to share responsibility with the staff because they were not financial, but human responsibilities with the children, and it's already a big deal. So teaching is pretty funny for someone with this neck, just a single vocal cord and half lung. But it was also a very big challenge for me to accept it, to do that, to have a job because I grew up with a sharp feeling there was so many things I could never do or afford. I had a very poor self-image, but now I'm no longer supported by government subsidies for disabled people. I earn my own money, I have a job. And thanks to this progress, I'm here. The only thing is, I don't know why. But as a conclusion, because now, I know that life is a permanent movement and not a line, as I was thinking before. It's very difficult to give an end to this speech because it's still moving. There are still problems I have to come through. I still have metastasis in my lungs. But the wave was very beautiful, and I had tremendous luck. I feel very grateful that I could survive so many times and that I could increase my level of consciousness, of freedom, and of love at each ordeal. Today, thanks to that, thanks to therapy also, thanks to people, I can feel a great range of human feelings and love myself and the other better. Because also, the last thing I didn't say is that, of course, the main scar left to me by the hospital is, as you can imagine, the fear. Great fear. Fear of death, which don't offer you any future, but also fear of being abandoned by the people I love because I was alone there. As a consequence, I grew thinking that I didn't worth attention and must be kind, funny, or as somebody's service to please them. Because of all those good beliefs, there is a piece of road still. But today, step by step, I make my path easier. In my job, I need to say no. I have garden, flat, friends, it's okay. And I can finally concentrate enough on me to let me be creative, to paint, to write. And I accepted the third treatment, maybe the last one, they said to me, hope so, to kill metastasis this summer. And just 1 month before TEDx, I realized that all this progress is maybe to let something grow, to let the future be for once. So, as an end, I'll give you a Navarro song, which I read in a book my parents gave me when I was 10, and which led me until today. May the beauty before me make me walk. May the beauty behind me make me walk. May the beauty above me make me walk. May the beauty below me make me walk. May the beauty all around me make me walk. And we could wish maybe also, may the beauty inside me make me walk. Thank you.